What's up, everyone? Andrew from 9Leaders, and today I've got a very exciting discussion in store for you. Speaking with a person that I find incredibly inspirational. Every time I engage with him, I walk away inspired and challenged. He is an educator, he is an entrepreneur, he is an award-winning speaker, specifically with the Professional Speakers Association of South Africa, and he really focuses on overcoming limiting beliefs in your life. It's going to be a great catch up with him. It brings a lot of knowledge to the table, and specifically with regards to that understanding of yourself, understanding of others, and the action that you can take to overcome challenges in your life. So as you know, 9Leaders' mission is to equip new and experienced leaders with the skills required to lead beyond 2021 and into this new world. And I believe this conversation will really make a huge impact to you. So this is Nick Smit, the Rebel Ninja. Nick Smit, welcome to 9Leaders. It's great to see you, mate. Are you well?
I am. Thank you very much, Andrew.
It's good to have you. We've been trying to get this conversation sorted for about 5 months now, and we finally managed to nail it down, get it sorted, put it into the schedule, and for us to both be available. But firstly, thank you so much for joining me. I think, like I said, we've been having this conversation for about 5 months, and the reason why I wanted you to have you on the chat was really, in the conversations that we've had, you are an incredibly inspirational person, and it's not meant to blow smoke up your butt, but I really have, every time we've chatted, I've walked away being inspired. So I thought no better person to have on the discussion. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, how you do it, anything that's going on in Nick's life at the moment. I really want to jump into and delve out, because you're doing some amazing work. And I think it's incredibly important, specifically in the context of South Africa today, that you are a voice that gets heard. So take us away. Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get to be where you are today? And just a little bit about your background.
Cool. Thanks so much. So I am Nicholas Smit when I'm in trouble. Nick Smit when I'm not. So Nicholas is normally reserved for my mom or my wife.
I was going to ask that question.
And I am a person with a disability. And for those of you who are going to be watching this on YouTube, I'm going to be, showing things on the screen. But for those of you who are just listening to this as a podcast, I'm going to try my best to explain this as well.
Perfect.
So I was involved in a car accident when I was 6 months old. It was quite a tragic car accident in which I lost one set of grandparents and my dad. And I was obviously left with a permanent disability. That disability is called cerebral palsy with hemiplegia. Now, many of you don't have a clue what that is, so I'm going to break it down for you. Cerebral meaning brain and palsy meaning paralyzed. Because in the car accident, I sustained severe brain damage because I went flying through the windscreen and landed on the road about 15 meters away from the car. So obviously, being a 6-month-old, your skull hasn't fully developed yet.
Yeah.
And so there was severe brain damage to the right-hand side of my brain. And so with that being the case, my whole left-hand side of my body is affected. So on the screen, I'm busy holding up my right hand and I'm wiggling it like normal. That's cool. I can do that. But then on the left, I have a hand that doesn't really work so well. And I also walk with what I call a gangster limp, because I'm cool like that. So it's affected the whole of my left-hand side. And it's a disability that is permanent. It's not going to change. A lot of people go, how long are you going to have it for? Or when is it going to get better? Or anything like that. Unfortunately, with it being brain damage, the effects are quite severe and obviously lifelong. I do go to physio, I do go to gym, I do work out to minimize the complications or to minimize the ramifications of having it. But I'll never get away from it. So instead of fighting it, I use it as an empowering tool. And so I say to people, my greatest weakness is my disability, but it's also my greatest strength. because it pushed me forward. It made me prove myself. Because a lot of people say, you know, oh, you've got a disability, you won't be able to do that, or you will be, you know, don't try that, or it's too hard for you, or whatever. And from a very young age, I was like, oh, is it? Okay. And then I would do it anyway. It might just take me longer, or I might have to do it in a different way, but the point is I'd do it. And so that's where I think, you know, the whole resilience and things tie in with who I am. It starts with that car accident that I had when I was 6 months old.
Wow. I think this is where so many people out there, specifically in a South African context, have got those limiting beliefs around what they can achieve, what can be done. And I think that was really, for me, is the crux of our conversations that we've had previously, is that not letting that. So in that regard, from such a young age, you said you sort of rebelled against that, and we'll talk about the background, the rebel ninja, in a bit. But what sort of strength of mind does that take? Did that come from somewhere as a child? Was it just a natural thing that you came about, or was it something perhaps that someone encouraged you to do, to rebel against the expectations of people, or where did that sort of come from?
That's a great question, and it's multifaceted, because you can't say that it comes from one place. You know, it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a family to raise a child, and there's nature and there's nurture. So it's a combination of all of these. I am an extrovert by nature, and I think that's who I am innately. So I think that's partly part of it, is that I don't let it get to me, because I wasn't going to shy away. But I also obviously had a very supportive family. From the time of the accident, my mom took me to physios and OTs, and you name it, I went there till about like 10, 11. And then, you know, some of those could fall away, like the OT and the speech therapy. I didn't really need those anymore, but I continued my physio up until like late in my life. And my mom supported me through all of that. And also, obviously, my whole family was there to push me forward and to say like, okay, you know what, just go for it. And I didn't get that expectation of, you know, you won't, you know, like, let's put you in a corner or whatever. That didn't happen. That's maybe something you want to talk about just now, is my transition from a special school to a normal school. That's quite an interesting story as well. And that's part of, I think, the journey, is my family supporting me and me getting that, you know, innate drive. And I think tying it all together and with my life experiences and the friends that I have as well, it just pushed me forward. And I also I love life. And so I don't want to get held back. You know, if I want to do something, damn it, I'm going to do it.
Absolutely. I think that's, I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit later as well, but just such a, I mean, you're a salsa instructor, a dance instructor, you use it in your businesses. And it's such a, for me, again, that's almost that inspirational level of going, you haven't let things hold you back. If you're wanting to do something, you're gonna set your mind to it, and you're gonna find a way to do it. Like I said, it might take a little bit longer, but it's not holding you back from achieving what you're wanting to achieve in the goals. From a business perspective, you've got a number of projects on the go. You've got a number of businesses that you're involved in. You're an educator. You've really got a heart for people and seeing people achieve over what their limiting beliefs are really around. So talk us through what sort of the areas of business that you currently are working in.
So in general, I believe that my purpose on this earth, and I really know, like, it came around and solidified for me when I was about 30, 32, was to empower people. And that's what I truly believe why I'm on this earth for. And that's why I think I have a disability, or why I was involved in the car accident, was to give me the tools to learn and empower others. And then you reflect on the past, and I am a teacher by profession, as you mentioned, but I'm also a teacher by passion. I love teaching people stuff, and it goes beyond transfer of knowledge. I actually don't really care about that. Like, yes, I care that you come into my classroom and I teach you something, but what really drives me and what really like gives me the fire is when I see people that said they can't do something or said they can't remember something or whatever, and then I help them, and then they learn it, and then they become empowered, that penny drops, or that you have that aha moment. And for me, that's like it. I'm like, woo, so with my teaching, that kind of set the foreground. And I think also I've been a teacher my entire life, basically, if you look back, because I have a sister who's 5 years younger than me, and she has Down syndrome.
Okay.
So from a very young age, because of my understanding and my experience as a person with a disability already, I had a lot of patience and understanding of the struggles that she was going through.
Right.
So a lot of the time I helped her with certain things, like, it's okay, let's take it slow, let me help you. And I had to think laterally on how to explain something, because Down syndrome is a mental disability. And so I think that's where my like love for teaching actually started. And then I studied to be a teacher, qualified, teaching at a private school. And then again, like I said, I'm here to empower people. So, does empowering people have to remain in the classroom? And the answer is no.
Absolutely.
And that's where, I just looked for opportunities, and I started my own tutoring company, because why not? As a teacher, you need to make extra money. So I started a tutoring company. And then that was my first entrepreneurial, venture. And then it was back in, I think it was 2015. A friend of mine also has a disability. Her name is 𝗘𝗶𝘂𝗰𝘁𝗄𝗃. And I was racking my brains on what to get her for her birthday. And I couldn't think of it. And then I'm telling you the truth here, 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning, I was lying down, I just woke up, and I was lying in bed, and I was like, aha, I have it. And I shot up out of bed, and I knew it. Just like, aha, it's a wheelchair bag, because she is in a wheelchair.
Okay.
She often has these items that were falling off her lap or getting lost or damaged. And she didn't have a bag on the back of a wheelchair. And I was like, that's it. So obviously, what do? You hop onto Google, right? So I hopped onto Google. I couldn't find what I was looking for. It was either, 𝗘𝗶𝘂𝗰𝗁 or too expensive because it came from overseas, or just not the right thing. Now, most people would probably go at this point and go, okay, I tried, I couldn't find it, but not me. I was like, okay, I didn't find it, let's create it. So I phoned Nicole, and I was like, be at my house at 3 p.m. I think I have something that can change many lives. And I hung up, because I'm a man of mystery.
Of course.
And luckily she did actually arrive at my house at 3 p.m. And that's where 𝗘𝗃𝗂𝗰, my second venture, was born. So we partner co-founders of the company. And what 𝗘𝗃𝗂𝗰 aims to do is basically break down the barriers between those with and those without disabilities.
Right.
And obviously in that realm, we do many different things, from community, projects and stuff like that, to corporate work, to selling of products. And then, because, why stop there, Nick? I'd been doing public speaking for a long time, and it's something that I'm good at, and it's something that I'm passionate about. So it was around 2019, I joined the Professional Speakers Association of South Africa, also known as PSA. And obviously, that was great timing, because, COVID hit in 2020.
Yeah.
And then I had my time to really focus on that and take it seriously. So I joined a launch speaker mastermind, where it takes beginner speakers, or speakers that know they want to be a speaker, but they take them on this professional journey of taking you from a speaker to a professional speaker, and
Right.
maybe developing your brand and everything. So with that in mind, I then did that for a year, and that's where ideas like the Rebel Ninja came in, and Dance Your Destiny, which is the workshop that I do. And, it's grown from there. And this year I won Speaker Factor at the PSASA, and because of my Dance Your Destiny. Thank you very much. And I think I've brought you up to speed. That's me in my professional capacity.
Fantastic. I think, again, and I'm using this word for the third time in this conversation, but inspirational is, again, not identifying an opportunity, identifying a problem, for example, that wheelchair bag, and not just settling and going, oh, well, okay, sorry, but really being proactive and doing something about it. And I think that's such an important message, specifically, again, in the South African context. We always talk about South Africans, we make a plan, 'n boer maak 'n plan. And just having that mindset and not limiting yourself as going, well, it can't be done, or nobody else has done it, so therefore getting up, making a plan, putting something into action, and really allowing that change to take place. From a 𝗘𝗱𝗃𝗁 perspective, obviously the work that you do, I want to dive into that a little bit more from a corporate perspective as to the specific initiatives that you've got running. But before we get into that, have you seen a change in the last 2 years? Has COVID impacted in this environment in any such shape and form with regards to remote work, people working from home? Has it benefited people with disabilities, or has it actually counted against people with disabilities, in your opinion?
So I'm going to be a rebel, and I'm going to say, can I quickly touch on something else that
Absolutely.
you just made into my head? And I think it might help your listeners if they are in a position of struggle, and maybe they're not they don't have what they need to move forward. An acronym that I came up with that really helps me, and something that really moves me forward, is pace yourself. Now, obviously, the normal meaning of pace is to start something with enough vigor and gusto to continue it and finish it. So I want you to remember that is correct, and that's cool. But there's also an acronym hiding there, and for me it's purposeful action changes everything.
Love it. Purposeful action changes everything.
If you take the normal idea of pace, right, and then you match it with this new acronym of pace, think of it like that. If I've got to get somewhere and I've got to do something, I need to start slow, and that's okay. But I'm going to start slow, pick up momentum, and finish strong. That's, again, normal pace. But now you've got to say, why am I doing this? And is it something that I really want to do? Is it something that I am going to start and I am going to finish? And that's where your purposeful action changes everything comes in. Because if you have a strong enough will and a strong enough motivation to make it happen, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. It might take a long time, but the purpose is, or the point is, that it is going to happen. Yeah. So I just wanted to share that with you. Absolutely.
And I think to that point, before you come to the remote working side of things, that mindset is incredibly important whenever you're setting out on anything. Having that purpose upset, the why so strong. Why am I doing this? Why do I need this to get done? But then also recognizing, and I'm for a long time, I've always been exposed to sort of that positivity mindset of, if you can will it, if you can think it, you can get it done. Yeah. And in my own life, I've gone, well, that's great. I have to have a positive mindset, but there's going to be challenges along the way. There's going to be hurdles that you have to overcome. That's that starting slow, that consistency that you create based on that purpose of knowing why you're going to get this done. It's going to make your life so much easier, and the outcome so much easier to achieve when you've got that strong purpose and then taking the action alongside that. So yeah. I love it. PACY, purposeful action changes everything.
Changes everything. Yeah.
Okay, I've got that imprinted on the brain.
So now back to your other question about the impact of COVID on people with disabilities, and especially in the workspace. It's been an interesting one, because obviously, before I focus on the workspace, I'm going to just talk about people in general with disabilities. When we went into lockdown, level 5, and no one could go anywhere, it was an inconvenience for many, because, you're stuck in your house and you could only go out to buy, essentials. That is a major inconvenience. But now if you take it from a perspective of a person with a disability, they are now completely isolated. If they are a person with a severe disability, they are completely isolated. Why I say that is because often helpers or people that cared for them cannot actually come to them anymore because they weren't classified as an essential worker. And for the interactions that I've had, a lot of people with disabilities that were of that severe type, that carer wasn't just a person who looked after them. It was a friend. It was a confidant. It was someone that they connected with on a daily basis, someone that they lived their lives with. And now all of a sudden, they're not there. And their friends can't come to them. They're stuck with maybe just their family members. And obviously, I'm not saying like that's a bad thing. They've got their family members and stuff, and that's cool. But that world that they had has now shrunk immensely. And so we actually found that a lot of people with disabilities were going through a lot of depression because they couldn't get out. Their friends couldn't come to them, their carers couldn't come to them. And so from a perspective of that, we started Zoom sessions where they could start connecting with us. And we started a community, and we're still going with that, going strong with that. We've got 𝗘𝗶𝘂𝗰𝘁𝗍𝗃 that happen the first Tuesday of the month. And then we've got what we call move talks that happen 2 weeks later. And a move talk is where we get someone who's got some form of expertise or a story to share. And we get them to come in and share a story for like half an hour of what they do or their background. And that's not focused on people with disabilities. People with disabilities can come and the topics can relate to them, but remember, the whole aim of Smurgos is to break down the barriers. So we have a wide array of people coming onto those calls as audience members and learning from each other. But at the same time, we have a variety of topics. I mean, one could be, healthy eating, and the next could be, how to take care of yourself as a person with a disability from a fitness perspective, and everything in between. And so that's been awesome for us, and so we've really grown in that regard.
So it's almost crossing those boundaries of the mental, the physical, and the emotional element. Okay.
Yeah, and what's really cool is it's in a non-threatening environment because it's over Zoom and because you've got people there willingly, right? People that, we've got some people on there that don't have disabilities, and before they started the calls, their exposure to people with disabilities was either very minimal or non-existent. We've had people come on there and go, I've never spoken to a person with disability, and now a year down the line, my whole life has changed and my view has changed of people with disabilities because of these Zoom calls, because they are, sharing. You've got Andy, who's got a severe disability. You've got myself with cerebral palsy. You might have another person come on with another disability. Or we even had one of the really cool sessions we had once was a deaf person reading his book to us through his interpreter.
Oh, wow.
That was an amazing experience. And so that's where that came in. And then we also had some people that are in the corporate space join us and really like what we do and identify with the angle that we approach disability. We're not playing victims. We're saying, we are people with disabilities, we're living with it, come and join us and talk about it and whatever. And so that's where some of our disability awareness and inclusion training started and stuff like that. But back to your other question of how did COVID affect people with disabilities? So I mentioned at the beginning that they were very isolated. But on the flip side of that, the opportunity for working from home wasn't a nicety, it was now a must.
Yeah.
And for people with disabilities, let's take, a physical disability, you're using a wheelchair. You live in your house is completely accessible to you.
Yeah.
And now you have to work from home. that's awesome.
Perfect.
Because, you don't have to worry about getting to work half an hour early because you have to maneuver the step, or you have to wait for someone to, open the office door for you, or something like that. Your environment is catered to you, and now you can work from home. We also had a gentleman tell us that before COVID, he had to catch 2 taxis to get from his house to his place of work. And because his wheelchair was so big, he had to pay for 2 people, himself and his wheelchair, every time. So he, every time he used a taxi, he had to pay 2 fares. So just to get to work, he had to pay 4 fares. And then to get home, he had to pay 4 fares again. And it was crazy expensive. And then not only that, he also told us of experiences where when it rained, they didn't let him on the taxi because his wheels of his wheelchair were dirty. And so, what do? He's now stranded.
Yeah.
Now, going back and saying, hold on, you have to work from home. He can. He doesn't need to worry about that. He saved money, he saved time, he saved effort. It was an awesome opportunity for him. And now we're standing at a precipice now of COVID is still here, but it's not as impactful as it was. So now corporates have to take a hard look and say, like, do we have to bring everybody back to the office?
Yeah.
And is that the right way forward? In some cases, you have to have people in the office, but is it the case for everybody?
Yeah.
Is it possible that that person with the disability only has to come in on Mondays because all the team meetings happen on Mondays, and then for the rest of the week they can work from home and connect, remotely, with Zoom calls and productivity tools and stuff like that they can use remotely. So it's an interesting space because it made corporates take cognizance. Before, if that guy I was telling you about with the wheelchair and the taxis, if he had to say, I'm working from home, they'll say to him, no.
Yeah.
So before COVID, the answer was no, like not even considered. Why are you bringing this to me? Just make a plan. And now after COVID, it's okay, maybe we can do something. So from that perspective, COVID actually helped the plight of people with disabilities.
Awesome. In that regard, the changing mindset of corporates now that they were forced into this sort of the remote working, does it spill over, and that change of mindset that people can work remotely, does it spill over into other areas from an accessibility perspective on, and talking physical buildings, if companies do need to bring people back for whatever reason, do you think, and this is a bit of a crystal ball moment, that companies will be more aware and take these elements into consideration? And is it a mindset shift that needs to take place culturally within companies, or is it a case of we need to rely on legislation? Where do you see the balance there, that it's a legislation issue or it's a culture issue?
So that answer is both. The corporates that we've worked with, some are doing it, some even not even the company itself, people in the company. Okay. You might have someone in the company saying, we're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And then you've got another person in that same company going, we're doing it because we have to. And then, there's sometimes a tension between the two mindsets, this one that's saying we're doing it because it's the right thing to do. The person who says, well, we're doing it because we have to, says, well, we don't have the budget for it or whatever. So it creates this like tension. So in my experience, we do have both. We've got people that say, it's the right thing to do. Let's get on the bandwagon and let's try and make this an accessible space. And then we've got others that are saying, well, we have to, so let's tick that box. To that end, though, something that we've like noted is in the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of 2030 set out by the United Nations, 11 of the 17 goals mention disability somewhere in them. And that's a huge portion, right? So now your larger corporates are saying, okay, it's not only a nice to have, it is a must, because, you know, those are the goals that are driving corporates forward. And they have to show that they are doing their best to achieve 3 to 5 of those SDGs. Now, if you are completely ignoring people with disabilities, that's going to be hard to prove. So when we interact with a corporate, we go in there quite hard and we say, thank you for interacting with us. If you want us to do the disability awareness training only, that's okay. But honestly, we don't like the tick box mentality. We don't want to come in, do the training so that you can tick a box and then leave. We want to make a culture change. We want to make sure that this has a lasting impact in your company. And so we want to start with that, or start with one of our other aspects, but we want to go into it for a year to 2 years to 3 years, however long it takes for your company to become, you know, disability ready, but also a space where people with disabilities can feel like assets to the company and not just, I'm here because, you know, I fit a quota.
Yeah. I think this from a corporate perspective, it's almost, is it top of mind in general when setting up a business, or is it a case of, well, they'd have to deal with it when an opportunity arises, almost when they've got a staff member that is now either they're hiring a person with a disability, or they have one of their staff members go through something that causes a disability, and then it's suddenly top of mind. Okay, now we need to deal with it. Whereas with the SDGs going, right, well, this is the standard. This is what you need to live up to, and this is what you need to be able to provide. And these are the expectations, effectively. Something that's again in the last 4 or 5 years, obviously, with a lot of people looking from a labeling perspective and a real of who I am, what I am. The question I've wanted to ask you for a while is going, politically correct or politically incorrect, being the rebel ninja that you are. You talk about disability. You don't talk about especially abled. You don't talk about disadvantaged or anything like that. You talk about disability. In the community, what is that sense of who I am, what I am?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. It's quite an important one. In our disability awareness and inclusion training, it's one of my favorite slides. I created this one, and it goes, to be or not to be, PC. And I actually say it like that in the training.
Do you have like I almost picture you with like a Dracula coat on, like having a reveal.
You know, if you want to be totally politically correct, you would say a person with a disability. Just to explain why that's the case, okay? If I say I'm a person with a disability, it separates the disability from the person. So it's saying the person comes first. That's why you say person with a disability. So person is your focus. And then I am my own independent individual, and I happen to have a disability. So that's where person with a disability,
as opposed to disabled person.
Exactly. So when you say disabled person, disabled is at the forefront, and then it becomes a person. And also now you're saying I am one in the same. I am a person and I have a disability. So now the interesting thing is, because that's what you asked, you said like in the community, what is it? If you talk to some people in the community, they'll say, you know, I am a person with a disability. You can't call me a disabled person and whatever. And they're very strong. And I've got people that have recently acquired a disability and they're stuck. They're like, I am a person with a disability. And then I've also got others that have lived with a disability for 45 years. And they also, you can't call me a disabled person. I'm a person with a disability. But then you get others like myself and like Nicole and a whole bunch of other friends of mine. And we actually don't care. You know, call us a disabled person, call us whatever you want, person with a disability. As you said, like a lot of people don't broach the topic because, you know, am I PC? Am I not PC? Like at the end of the day, who cares? You know, let's interact with each other. If you calling me a person with a disability or a disabled person is holding me back from communicating with me. What the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, if you are in a situation where you're not sure, you can, you know, just say to them, like, what's your name? And then in the discussion, maybe bring that up. You know, would you like to be referred to as a person with a disability or disabled person, or does it matter? And then often you'll find that people with disabilities are comfortable with those discussions because they've had it many times.
Yeah.
So they'll tell you, you know, they'll say, you know what, I don't care. There's this post or an image that I always remember, and I have actually added it to that same disability awareness training. And it says, in the first slide, there's a person standing next to a person in a wheelchair. And she says to him, she goes, I don't know what to call you. And then in the second frame, he says, just call me Joe. Because that's the focus, you know, like, are you speaking to the person or are you speaking to the disability? And the answer is you're speaking to the person.
That's awesome. I love the analogy.
Thank
really
you.
do. And in that regard, then, coming on to what you mentioned it previously a little bit, with your salsa, your dancing and your Dance Your Destiny. Talk us through that a little bit. I think it's an absolutely amazing initiative.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I have been dancing for about 19 years now. I danced ballroom for 2 years. I got bored. I met salsa, and we've been going steady ever since.
Not married yet. No rings or anything like that.
I'm married to my wife, but I'm also married to salsa, and she knows that, and that's okay. And I even call myself a salsa disciple because I just want to spread the moves. And yeah, again, going back to my purpose in life is to empower people, right? And as a person with a disability who doesn't really care about what other people think, and a person with a disability who has such a strong, like, if I want to do it, I get it done. You know, when I started salsa, people were like, what the hell are you doing? It's a fast dance. You need 2 hands. You don't have proper balance. Like, what are you doing? And I didn't care. I was like, I love the music. I love the rhythm, and I'm going to give it my shot. And I did. And fast forward, as you mentioned, I've taught salsa. I've been to Cuba. I've danced in like 5 or 6 shows. I do it for fun, and I teach people. And, you know, you get people coming to me and saying, you know, I have 2 left feet. I can't dance. I'm like, I have a disability. If I can dance, you can dance. And then I break it down. And this is where I think, again, my expertise as a teacher and my experience as a person with a disability and a teacher come in, because I have the ability to break everything down to like the nth degree. And find where that person is struggling and go, oh, okay, so you're struggling with that. Let's step there. Okay, your weight is shifting, and that's okay. This is what you need to expect. And I ease them into it. And what I find is I take a person who's never danced salsa before, and within 15 minutes, half an hour, I've got them doing the basics. And they look at themselves and they're like, oh my God, I'm actually dancing. And you're like, yes, because you can. And so that's where my passion for dance came in, and my teaching came in. And then during that time I was telling you about, during COVID, when I was on that launch speaker course, they said, like, okay, so what do you want to talk about? Who do you want to talk to? And what is your actual passion? So, you know, my passion was to empower people, but my passion is also dancing. So Bruce Wade, the guy who was running it, said to me, well, can you come up with an acronym for dance? Can you tie it all together in an acronym? That would be amazing. And I love marketing and advertising and stuff like that. My brain just goes, you know, crazy. So I was driving on the highway, and it was like 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, something random. And I was like, hold on, I'm a driven person. Driven starts with a D. So I turned off my radio and I was like, okay, now, and I'm busy like driving. My driving and my shower time is basically the same kind of moment. I don't know if it is for you.
The thinking moment. Yeah.
So I was driving, and that started my whole idea of, what else can I put? And over a course of a week, I ended up having, and this is what dance now stands for, is to be driven, to be authentic, to be nimble, to be courageous, and to be empowered or empowering. Yeah.
Okay.
So now I had that acronym. So I went back to Bruce all excited, and I was like, this is amazing. I've now got dance. I've got the acronym you said, and he was like, cool. Now, how can we tie that with your want to empower? And so then I was like, okay, if I have the right mindset, if a person has the right mindset, surely they create their own reality, right?
Yep.
And surely they have an impact on what their future is. Hold on, that's destiny. And then, dance your destiny. So that's where it came from. Take all those 5 elements and basically create your own destiny. And what I say when I explain it is that if you join one of my workshops, I don't only teach you to metaphorically dance, I teach you to metaphorically, emotionally, and physically dance to your destiny. Because how I structure the workshop is I do keynotes and stuff like that, and that's cool. I enjoy that. But my jam, where I really feel fulfilled, is in the workshops. So in the normal workshop situation, the first session or the first part would be the theory, where I'm sharing a story, analogies, and the importance of, let's say, for example, driven. And then what we do is we then go into what I call invest work, which are questions that you have to answer about you and what makes you driven, what guides you, and things like that. And then after that, so that's the second part. And then after that, the third part is teaching you a dance step that matches that theme of the day. So by the end of the whole period, it could be a week, could be a month, depending on how you guys want to structure it. But once you've done all 5 letters, I've taught you the theory. You've done that invest work in a journal, not I don't call it a workbook, I call it a journal because it's something that I want you to take with you. And then I've also taught you 5 dance steps. And so obviously, me having the love of salsa and the love of empowering people, what do we do on the last day? We have a salsa party. Yeah. And that's generally how I do my workshop, and empower people to dance to their destiny. It's
brilliant. I love it. And especially we've spoken about this before, having gone through a couple of weeks, it wasn't salsa training by yourself, somewhere else. I struggled. I was like, okay, I'm getting this the first day. No. By the third time, I was like, sure, I really need to have some proper coaching here because, listen, I take my hat off to you. And I love the fact that, again, you've interwoven it with a message. You've interwoven it with, you've made it something that's important from an individual's psyche, their mindset, all of that, but you've made it real and it's tangible. So they're walking away with both elements, which, again, from a teaching perspective, it comes through massively. Rebel Ninja, you've got it in the background there. Love the logo. Tell us about that. What's Rebel Ninja all about?
When I was looking or thinking about a speaker brand for myself, obviously, again, my marketing and advertising brain went crazy. But then, a lot of my friends always call me a ninja. Even in my teaching, I've got a sign on my door that says Ninja Dojo, and the kids know me as a ninja. And
you have the outfit?
No, I don't have the outfit yet.
I can hook you up. We'll make a plan. We'll get you the tabby boots and everything, the split toes.
Jot that down. Jot that down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll have a photo shoot with it. So then I was like, okay, hold on, I'm a ninja, and then I go against what people say, right? And so that's rebellious. So then my idea of the Rebel Ninja came because, firstly, it's because I am the Rebel Ninja, so I am the one. The second is rebel because I often do things that people say I can't or shouldn't be able to do. And then the ninja, because generally ninjas tend to be calm, confident, and disciplined. And that's what I try and, emulate as much as I can.
Yeah.
At the same time, they're also sneaky, right? One moment they're not there, and then the next moment they are. And again, that's me. You think I won't be like playing pool, and then there's me playing League. You think I'm not going to be on the salsa dance floor, and then that's me, dancing in a show. And that's where the Rebel Ninja came in.
You always arrive in like a pillar of smoke. Is it like, poof, there's Nick.
Again, not yet. You'll come to my show when I'm famous and speaking in front of like 30,000 people. Yep. Yes, I'll have the smoke there.
Love it.
And out of interest, the people who actually helped me put my logo together and everything, they are actually people who do salsa dancing lessons as well.
Okay.
And so I've actually known them for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
So they know me really, really well. Like they know me as a person, they know me because of my salsa and everything. So they were the perfect fit for me in terms of getting my message across in an image. And for those of you who have noticed, if you look closely at the ninja, the one on the left actually had the arm on the left has like a bit of a prick. Because it's actually my left arm, because my left arm struggles to straighten.
Right.
And then the right arm is like a normal arm, and that's me again. So they've taken the whole concept of Rebel Ninja, but they've put it into the actual character.
Fantastic. Again, I love the intricate the stories interwoven with regards to the entire message. I hesitate to ask this question because I don't know what's next. I mean, you're doing so much. You educator, you've got running 𝗘𝗃𝗃𝗃, you're co-founder of that. You're doing such a lot of great work there. You've got your Dance to Destiny. You've got all of the speaking elements. What does the future hold?
That's a good question. At the beginning of this year, I was thinking about like, what is the year going to hold for me? And a friend of mine said to me, if you had to encapsulate your year that's coming, because I think it was like in December or January that we had this discussion. She's like, what word would it be? And then I was like, hold on, that's actually a good question, because, if I can frame that as my foundation for the rest of the year, that would be cool. So I thought about it for quite a while, and I came back to it and I said, it's grow. So my word for the year is grow. And that's really important for me, because if you had met the me maybe 7-8 years ago, I would have been chasing like 4 or 5 other entrepreneurial journeys and trying this and, figuring that out. And, now I've decided no more. These are the things I'm focusing on. So, brilliant. And these are the things I'm growing, right? So you asked me like, what's going to happen next? I'm not planning, unless something miraculous happens, I'm not planning on starting another company. But I'm looking to grow 𝗘𝗃𝗃𝗃 on a large scale. We're busy having discussions with partners that are overseas in the UK. We're working with big corporate companies, both in South Africa and overseas. We're doing huge and amazing work in that field, and that's something that I'm very passionate about, because that's my disability advocacy. So that's obviously going to grow. And then my Rebel Ninja brand and my Dance to Destiny is something that I really, really want to take to the next level. There's that song that says, we started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what's happened. I started from the bottom, and now I'm here, and what I do now will propel me into the future. So, I got asked in a press release, they asked me like, so what's next for the Rebel Ninja in terms of Dance to Destiny? And I said to them, well, my medium-term goal is to empower and dance with 10,000 people. Nice. And so that's what I'm doing. That's what's happening next. And then from there, my plans are to travel both locally and internationally for Dance Your Destiny, and just change as many lives as I can.
Awesome. I love it. And what I love about what you just said now about that growth, it's almost the growth. It's not widening the spectrum. It's deepening what you've already got. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs look at it and go, they get so excited about the new thing and the new venture that they end up running in this direction all over and not necessarily seeing through. And it's almost semantics is semantics. But when you were talking, in my head, I was going, you're almost limiting yourself to what is important. But in my head, the negativity around the word limiting is going, are you losing out on other opportunities? But at the same time, in my head, the other brain was going, it's actually just focus. You understand your purpose so clearly and so deeply that you know that these are the channels through which I can focus to bring about that empowering and fulfilling that purpose. So I love it. Before we end off, we've spoken a lot from a resilience perspective. If you had to give, and I mean, you've given us a huge amount of content already with your acronyms, with dance, with PACE and all of that. If you had to have 5 minutes with somebody, and they were in that sort of mental space of that limiting belief around what has happened with them, regardless of whether they are able-bodied person with a disability, regardless, taking that off the table completely, they're just in that mindset of the world is against me. What would sort of be your admonition to them, your motivation, your speaking hard truths? What would that be to that individual? Obviously, their circumstances would be different potentially.
Yes.
Not getting that, but what would sort of be the core theme of the life that you've lived and the purpose that you've identified for yourself? What would be your message to them?
So I think, and this kind of ties into what you just said as well about focus, is when you are a person facing a challenge, that challenge, you can't take away from that challenge, right? That challenge is there, or that problem is there, and it might not be going anywhere. I'm not saying ignore the challenge. You have to acknowledge the challenge, right? But the important thing is to look at that challenge from a multidimensional perspective, from a 3D perspective, and say like, okay, I'm looking at it like this. Is there a different way that I can look at this? And also not only focus on the problem itself, because that's what a lot of people do. I speak to a lot of people with disabilities who are in victim mentality because they only are focused on the disability, but they're not focused on their strengths.
Right.
So, if you focus, there's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, the RAS. And what you focus on is what your brain will look for. So if you focus on the problem the whole time, your brain is going to become accustomed to proving that right.
Confirmation bias. I'm looking to buy a new car, and I see that same car all the time.
Exactly. So that's a classic. Thank you for bringing that in. That's a classic example. But now that happens all the time, right? So if you focus on that problem and say this problem is the problem and it's my problem and it's the life and whatever, that's all you're going to see. And everything around you is going to point to that problem. However, if you say, okay, let's look past the problem for a second and let's look at something else. Let's focus on something else. Remember, I'm saying you can't ignore it. You can't forget it. It's there, but shift your focus to something else. Shift your focus to a strength or something you enjoy or something you can do. And remember, when you're looking at something from a different perspective, maybe, like you said, it's not a person with a disability, but maybe they're facing a work challenge or something.
Yeah.
Is there a different way you can approach it that you just aren't seeing? Like maybe you think about it from a different perspective, and maybe I could talk to someone and get their view, or maybe I could write about it, and then that'll clarify my thoughts, and then I can action. Because, if you're stuck too much in your head, then that can hold you back. So, my advice to them would be, let's look at the problem, identify the problem, and let's say, okay, what in this problem, what is in my control and what's not in my control? What can I change? What can't I change? And now once we've got those down, let's look at something else. Let's focus on something else. We've identified the problem, we've spoken about it. Now it's kind of over in my mind, like let's focus on something else.
So either the solution to that problem, if you can control it, or going, well, we can focus on in another area, a strength.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
An interesting thing, I told you that I love dancing, and I do. But to be honest with you, I don't like watching myself dance.
Okay.
Because all I see is my disability. And so I see that as a negative, right? But now think about it. I'll go to a party and I'll dance with anything from 10 to 20 different girls that I don't know. I've never met them before. And I don't care. And if I had to watch a recording of me doing that, I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? And that's what I was talking to you about, your focus.
Yeah.
When I'm at that party, my focus is taking that girl that's standing on the sidelines, tapping her foot, waiting for someone to dance. I'm going to take her and build her confidence. Or that girl who I know is a really good dancer and I had a good time with her last time, I'm going to dance with her. My focus is on having fun or connecting with someone. It's not on my disability. If I had to focus on my disability, it would be, I can't go and dance with her. I've never danced with her before. What will she think about my disability? So that's the shift of focus I was talking about.
I love it. And again, it can be applied to so many different areas, from a new leader perspective of them not knowing what to potentially do in their new role, to that lack of confidence, or being so aware of a certain element that, like you said, the focus automatically shifts to there. So it's such a great message. Nick, it's been absolute flipping pleasure having you on and chatting again. Obviously, all the links and the details and everything where people can reach out to you, we'll put down in the description. But once again, thank you so much for the time. I walk away inspired again. Good Lord, it just keeps on happening. Damn, man. Well done.
Thank you very much. No, it's been awesome chatting to you, Andrew, and I look forward to our next conversation. And hopefully by then I'll have me in my ninja suit.
I will make a plan. Definitely. All right, mate. Listen, take care of yourself. All the best for the rest of the year and all the initiatives that you got going, and continue to grow. Just keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job.
Thanks so much, Andrew, and chat soon.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Cheers, man.